Hello guys, and welcome back to Reading Club. So today I'm going to read you Daisy and the Trouble with Sports Day, Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. Chapter 5. The trouble with lunchtime is it gave Mrs. Peters time to forget how deliberately tangled Jack and Harry had been. Which meant when she read out the sports day events that we would all be doing, she didn't make Jack and Harry serve cream teas to parents at all. She said they could both do the 60-meter sprint. If I was a teacher and two children in my class had got deliberately tangled on the grass, I would have made them serve cream teas and do the washing up afterwards. And wear pink rubber gloves and a frilly apron each. Gabby totally agreed with me, but she wouldn't stop smiling because Mrs. Peters had chosen her for the girls' 60-meter sprint too. At first, I felt a little bit jealous because I knew that with my shoelaces double knotted and my PE shirt outside in, I could definitely go for gold in the 60-meter sprint. But then I reckoned that if I wasn't in the 60-meter sprint, I was bound to be in the multi-scales race. But I wasn't. I wasn't doing the long-distance running race either. I wasn't doing the sack race. I wasn't doing the obstacle race. I wasn't doing the space hoppers, or the hurdles, or the foam javelin, or the foam shot put, or the foam anything. The race Mrs. Peters had written me down for was a race called the Egg and Spoon. The trouble with the Egg and Spoon is it's a race with an egg and a spoon, which makes it really difficult to race because eggs and spoons can't go very fast because they are so wobbly. At first, when Mrs. Peters said egg and spoon, I went a bit hot. Then, when Jack Beachwhistle started laughing and pointing at me, I went a bit red. Gabby said to take no notice of Jack Beachwhistle and that the egg and spoon race was one of the best races to be in, as long as your egg doesn't fall off your spoon, which made me get a bit worried. When I found out that Lottie and Dottie Taylor had been chosen to do the egg and spoon too, I got even more worried. Lottie and Dottie Taylor are identical twins. They go to proper running club at the weekends and after school. Plus, they are so fast and so identical, they always come joint first in their races with the same identical times. Gabby said it didn't matter how fast Lottie and Dottie were because egg and spoon races weren't just about being fast. They were more about keeping your egg on your spoon. She said that if I did lots of egg and spoon practicing before sports day, she was sure I would be able to beat Lottie and Dottie, especially if I got into the zone. Which made me feel a bit better. Then Gabby said we could share zones after school by practicing our races in our back gardens, which made me feel a lot better. But then Jack Beachwhistle started laughing and pointing at me again, which made me feel a lot worse. By the time I left school on Wednesday, I didn't know whether I wanted to be in the egg and spoon race or not. I didn't even know if I wanted to be in sports day at all. Chapter 6. When Gabby and I started our first training session after school on Thursday, I started to feel much better until I broke my first egg. Gabby and me had only been in the zone for about 20 seconds when my first egg got broken on the kitchen floor. I didn't drop it. It fell out of the spoon all by itself. Luckily, Mom was in the front garden watering the flowers, so she didn't hear it crack or see the mess. Even luckier, there was a box of 12 eggs in the fridge that we could keep training with. Well, 11. After my first egg broke, Gabby said it might be better if I learned to walk with an egg and spoon before I tried to run with an egg and spoon. So I took it really slowly the next time. But the same thing happened. The egg jumped off my spoon all by itself. The trouble with 2 eggs breaking on the kitchen floor is it makes twice as much mess. Trouble is, I was still trying to get the hang of keeping an egg on my spoon. So I didn't have time to clear it up. Gabby said it might be better if I tried a bigger spoon, so I changed from a teaspoon to a pudding spoon. But that didn't work either. So I changed from a pudding spoon to a cooking spoon. The trouble with cooking spoons is they give eggs too much space to roll about in. The trouble with rolling about eggs is it's absolutely impossible to keep them on the spoon. So I dropped the next egg as well. Gabby said that when I got my next egg, it might be a good idea if I tried to hold my spoon with 2 hands instead of 1. That way I would be able to keep my egg a bit more steady when I was walking. So I got another spoon from the kitchen drawer and asked her to show me how. But her egg fell off and broke too. So we both had to try again. But both of those eggs fell off and broke too. Which meant we only have 4 eggs left in the box now. So we decided to do our training on soft grass instead. When we got outside onto my lawn, we did a little bit of stretching and a tiny bit of running on the spot first. And then we really concentrating on getting into the zone. Zones are the next one up from zones. If you're in the zone, you really are going for gold. Gabby said that if I wanted to beat Lottie and Dottie Taylor, then practicing in my back garden was a much better idea, because it would give me a longer space to walk around with my egg and spoon. Plus, grass is a lot softer than kitchen floors, especially if your mom has been too lazy to cut it. The first time I dropped my 9th egg, it didn't even break. It did break the second time, but by then I had got to the clothesline. I didn't break my 10th egg until I got all the way to my shed. Plus, when I broke it, I wasn't just walking. I was almost nearly running. Once I had started almost nearly running with my egg and spoon, Gabby said she would start timing me by counting how long it took me to get to the wall at the end of my garden and back. Which made me a bit wobbly the first time because I'd never been timed by someone before, which is why my 11th egg didn't count. Once I started almost nearly running with my 12th egg dough, I didn't just get into the zone, I got into the zone. In fact, I got all the way to the garden wall and back in 23 and a bit counts. Plus, I only dropped my egg twice along the way. Gabby told me that I had done my first ever PB. PB means personal best, which means my personal best egg and spoon racing time was 23 and a bit. Trouble is, just as I set off to get my second PB, my mom screamed my 12th egg out of my spoon. It wasn't just my mom's scream that made my egg jump out of my spoon and break. It was the sound of the watering can clanging too. When me and Gabby looked around, we saw my mom sitting on the floor in the kitchen. At first, I thought she might have been a bit tired after watering the flowers, but then I realized she had slipped over on some broken eggs. About 8 broken eggs, actually. The trouble with 8 broken eggs is they are really skitty, especially if you thread on them while you're not looking. Double especially if you're holding a watering can. When my mom asked me what on earth I thought I had been doing with her eggs, I told her that me and Gabby had been going for gold. Trouble is, my mom had more yellow on her than gold. "You're supposed to boil them first," she said. Well, shouted. "If you boil the eggs first, they won't break. when they fall off your spoon. Do you know how much eggs cost, Daisy? Do you think eggs grow on trees, Daisy? Well, eggs don't grow on trees, and neither do omelets or pancakes or cake mixes or anything else that you find eggs in. Which actually isn't true. Birds do, I say. Birds grow on trees, and they've got eggs inside them. There are eggs inside birds' bottoms. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure that talking to my mom about birds' bottoms was a very good idea. But it did give Gabby a good idea of her own to say goodbye very quickly and do her 60-meter sprint training on her way home. Well, that's the end of this channel. I hope you enjoyed my readings of it, and if you did, please click many likes and subscribe to Reading Club. So I'll come back later with a new and improved channel. Bye, everybody!